yopi janati.
Kamabhirna sabhadyate.
Karmabhirna sapadyate.
Namam karmani limpanti.
Namam karmani limpanti.
Name karma phale spraha.
Name karma phale spraha.
Imam yo bijanati.
Iti mam yopi janati.
Karmabhirna sabhadyate.
Karmabhirna sapadyate. Namam karmani limpanti.
Namam karmani
Name karma phale spraha.
Name karma phale spriha.
Iti mam yo abhijanati.
Iti mam yo abhijanati.
Karma bhirna sabhadyate.
Karma bhirna sabhadyate.
Namam karmani limpanti.
Namam karmani limpanti.
Name karma phale spriha.
Name karma phale spraha.
Iti mam yo abhijanati.
Iti mam yo abhijanati.
Karma bhirna sabhadyate.
Karma bhirna
bhirna
sabhadyate.
sabhadyate. Namam karmani limpante.
Namam karmani limpanti.
Name karma phale spriya.
Name karma phale spraha.
Miyo abhijanti janati.
Iti mam yo abhijanati.
Karma bhirna sabhadyate.
Karma bhirna sabhadyate.
Na.
No.
Thank you.
No.
Never.
Never.
Mom.
Mom.
Me.
Me.
Karmani.
Karmani.
All kinds of work.
All
kinds of work.
Limpanti.
Limpanti.
Do affect.
Do
Do
affect.
affect.
Na.
No.
Nor.
Nor.
A.
Me.
Me.
My.
My.
Karma pale.
Karma
Karma
phale.
phale.
In fruit of action.
In fruit of action.
action.
Raha.
Spriya.
Aspiration.
Aspiration.
Iti.
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 Thus.
Thus.
Mum.
Mom.
Me.
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 Yaha.
Yaha.
Yeah.
One who.
One
One
who
who.
Abhijanati.
abhijanati.
Does know.
Does
Does
know.
know.
Karma be.
Karma
Karma
be.
be.
By the reaction of such work.
By the
By
reaction of such work.
Na.
No.
Never.
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 Saha.
Saha.
E.
E.
Padyate.
Padyate.
Comes entangled.
Becomes entangled.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. So anybody have any idea who's speaking?
Krishna.
Very good. Good idea. Purport. As there are constitutional laws in the material world stating that the king can do no wrong or that the king is not subject to the state laws, similarly, the Lord, although he is the creator of this material world, is not affected by the activities of the material world. He creates and remains aloof from the creation, whereas the living entities are entangled in the fruitive results of material activities, because of their propensity for lording it over material resources. The proprietor of an establishment is not responsible for the right and wrong activities of the workers, but the workers are themselves responsible. So somebody who works for you, you got a big company and he murdered somebody, you're not responsible. The person who murdered him is held responsible. When Krishna comes, he creates this world. He doesn't even create it really. He just supplies the ingredients, and he has his servant create it, Brahma. But he can come and go. He can do anything he's like, and there's nothing that binds him to this material world. So even when he comes here, it's not like, oh, he's a conditioned soul like us. No, he comes and he's free to come and go, like the warden in a prison. You know, he can come and go. If he's in the prison, it's not like, oh, he's a prisoner because he's in the prison. He's in charge of the prison, so he can do as he likes. He's not a prisoner. So Krishna is not held by these rules, just like the king is above the law. He's not held. He makes a rule, a law, but if he breaks it, even the police department, you know, if you're speeding, you get a ticket, but the police are speeding, they don't get a ticket. It's their job. Sometimes they have to speed. So it's just some practical examples of sometimes there are laws, but then there are people who can break the laws and they're not responsible. Even killing, you know, you can if you murder somebody, you can be killed or go to jail for the rest of your life. But if you're in a war and you're fighting for your country and you kill a bunch of people, you get a medal. It's like you did really good. You did really good. So sometimes there are laws, but there's cases in which those laws don't apply. And of course, just common sense, they're not going to apply to God. You know, he can do whatever he likes, whenever he likes. So he creates and remains aloof from the creation, whereas the living entities are entangled in the fruitive results of material activities because of their propensity for lording it over material resources. We lord it over the material resources. We want to get these things so that we can enjoy our body. We can enjoy the senses of this body. We want to get things because we're all in this illusion, more or less, that we are this body. So we have to come to understand this about Krishna is totally transcendental, and we can also be totally transcendental and not be affected by actions. In other words, when there are actions, there's reactions. But if you're acting on Krishna's behalf, there are no reactions to that. So the proprietor of an establishment is not responsible for the right and wrong activities of the workers, but the workers are themselves responsible. The living entities are engaged in their respective activities of sense gratification. And these activities are not ordained by the Lord. Even sense gratification, it's not like you can't have any sense gratification. So there are regulated sense gratification, which is ordained by the Lord. If it's regulated, you can have some. It's not like you can't have any sense gratification. I mean, just eating is sense gratification. We have to eat. But we don't have to eat animals. That would be very sinful. You can eat without eating animals. And even eating something, if you don't offer it first with love and devotion to Krishna, that's also sinful. And we don't eat animals because you can't offer animals. If Krishna ate animals, we would offer animals, but he doesn't. You know, so even our non-violence in a sense. We're not completely non-violent, but sometimes Prabhupada explains violence is necessary. But, you know, for hurting animals or hurting anyone unnecessarily, it would be sinful. So people don't need meat to eat and to live and to survive and to be healthy. And you could actually be even healthier without meat. So if you eating meat, it's sinful. And just say you're not eating meat, you're a vegetarian, but you don't offer your food, that's also sinful. So everyone, if you don't know how to offer your food, you can ask myself or some other devotees, what do you do to offer your food? You can't eat any meat, fish, or eggs, onions, or garlic. And then you can make any combination of different foodstuffs. I remember reading about Srila Prabhupada having a conversation with the poet, what's his name? Allen Ginsberg, yeah. Allen Ginsberg. And Allen Ginsberg wasn't happy with the diet, you know, all this hot, spicy Indian foods. That wasn't the only thing, but he was saying, how can you expect to get a lot of followers when you have certain things that they're not going to want to follow? Like, for instance, what we eat. And Prabhupada explains to him that you can make anything with all of these ingredients and offer it to Krishna with love, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be Indian food, spicy food. You can make, you know, he didn't say pizza, but I would say pizza. You can make different things and you can offer it to Krishna with love and devotion, and he will accept it. So, you know, so there's just a few things you can't use. Take those ingredients aside and use anything else you want and make something nice and offer it with love and devotion to Krishna. There are special prayers. You don't even need the special prayers. If you're just sincere and you ask Krishna, please accept this offering. But we can get into it more detail if anybody doesn't know how to offer their food, because you should be doing that. First of all, you should be following this vegetarian diet and then doing it. So the proprietor, we read that. The living entities are engaged in their respective activities of sense gratification, and these activities are not ordained by the Lord. For advancement of sense gratification, the living entities are engaged in the work of this world, and they aspire to heavenly happiness after death. So for advancement of sense gratification, the living entities are engaged in the work of this world. So for advancement of sense gratification, they're doing everything. Prabhupada said they're building these big skyscraper buildings just for sense gratification. Everything that's being done, their whole motive is sense gratification. And even the, you know, people are worried about the what's it called? The global warming. You know, ultimately they're worried about that also because of sense gratification, because they won't be able to live nicely and enjoy life if we destroy the atmosphere. But they drill for oil, which is very bad. Prabhupada says something about the oil in the middle of, you know, in the earth. It helps keep the earth balanced. You take the oil out, the earth can lose its balance. People don't know any of this, but now they're thinking, of course, not to try to do without oil because it's ruining the whole. Every single thing they do creates more problems. You know, they make some advancement and then there's an advantage and then there's 2 times the disadvantage. Prabhupada gave the example, flying from Boston to New York. It only took like a half hour. And then it took, you know, 3 hours, to get from New York to the temple and 2 hours to get from the temple in Boston to the airport. So we have this advantage. We can fly so fast, but then to use that there's so much difficulty. Everything, every single thing that's an advantage, there is a great disadvantage also. We have washing machines and it pollutes the water. We should all just get a rock and smash our clothes on a rock. Doesn't pollute anything. Okay? Any questions? Okay. So for advancement of sense gratification, the living entities are entangled in the work of this world and they aspire to heavenly happiness after death. So not only they want to enjoy like anything now, their whole conception of heaven is sense enjoyment. The Christians, it's sense enjoyment. I mean, I remember I was a Christian, I wanted to go to heaven, and if I go to heaven, then I can enjoy, have a beautiful house and have everything is just wonderful there. I never really had a conception of heaven where God has anything to do with it other than overseeing it, making sure everybody's happy. There's no service to God. And of course, the Muslims have their idea of, well, I don't even know if it's their idea or just some people who are saying it's their idea that if they kill so many people, they'll go to heaven and have so many wives that are all virgins. And I was wondering what those wives must have done in order to get that. To go to heaven and have that happen to them. Anyway, it's totally ludicrous, their idea of heaven. Nothing like our idea of the spiritual world where God is the center of everything, and everyone, even though you don't know he's God, you don't care that he's God, you love him, you want to serve him in whatever particular relationship you have with him. You want to please him. So it's God-centered. And that's what Srila Prabhupada, Ishavasya, he's trying to have us nowadays for the devotees to practice having God in the center. He gave the example, if you have a pond, placid pond, and you throw a rock in, these ripples will come out. And if you throw another rock in that same spot, the ripples will come out and they don't collide. But if you put another rock somewhere else, then the ripples collide. And if you want to be the center and your wife wants to be the center, or your girlfriend wants to be the center, then there's collision, there's false egos colliding. But if we have Krishna as the one center, then there's no difficulties. Everybody is working for whatever is the most pleasing to Krishna. Then people can live in harmony. Then you can live happy and peacefully in this world, and then go back to the spiritual world, skip the heavenly planets. Also, what I should mention, when Christians think of heaven, they don't think of heaven as we do, heavenly planets and then the spiritual world. They really think of what they think is the ultimate, the spiritual world, but what they describe is more like the heavenly planets. And they do call it heaven. But heaven, when I was a kid, heaven was always, when you die, you go to heaven, that's the spiritual world. There's nothing higher than that. So the Lord, being full in himself, has no attraction for so-called heavenly happiness. The heavenly demigods are only his engaged servants. Heavenly happiness is Prabhupada calls heaven sometimes a phantasmagoria. It's just more things to get entangled in. And it's really nice, but it's just sense gratification, much nicer than we have. We try so hard, mostly we suffer here on this planet, but there's some sense gratification, but nothing compared to heaven. But that sense gratification is horrible compared to the spiritual world of serving Krishna. So the Lord has no attraction for so-called heavenly happiness. The heavenly demigods are only his engaged servants. The proprietor never desires the low-grade happiness such as the workers may desire. It's interesting, there was a report on people watching TV, and the more educated and the more better paying jobs a person had, the less hours in a week they watch TV. And those people who make the least amount of money and are the least educated watch TV the most. And basically, according to practically your income, you can tell how much somebody watches TV. Of course, this was TV. I don't know. Now it's the computer, so I don't know. This was years ago. Now it would be how much you, I don't know what you watch, or YouTube. Okay, so the heavenly demigods are only his engaged servants. I read that. The proprietor never desires the low-grade happiness such as the workers may desire. He is aloof from the material actions and reactions. For example, the rains are not responsible for different types of vegetation that appear on the earth. Although without such rains, there is no possibility of vegetative growth. Vedic Smriti confirms this fact as follows. Let me change my view. Well, I want to see the one person who's brave enough to show themselves. Anyway, if nobody, I'm glad you're doing it. So now I'm planning next time, if nobody's on, I'm going to just shut my screen off and talk. Okay, we got two brave ladies. Very good. Thank you. Nimitta matram evaso srijanam sarga karmani pradana karane bhuta yato vai shrija shaktaya. In the material creations, the Lord is only the supreme cause. The immediate cause is material nature, by which the cosmic manifestation is made visible. It's the end of the quote. So Krishna is the ultimate cause of everything. He's the cause of all causes. He doesn't directly, even this whole world, he doesn't directly do it, but he creates it. He creates the ingredients, he creates Brahma, and then everything goes according to his plan. So the created beings are of many varieties, such as the demigods, human beings, and lower animals, and all of them are subject to the reactions of their past good or bad activities. So their past good or bad activities, even that is in the human form. The animals aren't really creating karma. They're just doing what they do. And but once they come to the human form, that's the junction. They work their way up to each different body, 8,400,000 species. So to 8 million species, if you're on the bottom, and you work your way up higher and higher till you finally come to the human form. And there is the greatest opportunity of anyone can achieve, is you have a choice of what you want to do with that life, whether you want to misuse it and get back down as an animal in your next life, whether you want to use it for acting more in the mode of goodness and go into the heavenly planets in your next life, or whether you want to use it for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, using your life to please the Supreme Lord, and at the end of the life, go back home, back to Godhead, and never have to come and obtain a material body. Have a spiritual body, a spiritual form, spiritual identity, and have an eternal spiritual relationship with all the other living entities there and with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's such a great opportunity, and to misuse it, which most people unfortunately do, they don't take the spiritual life. Some of them do. I mean, even okay, let's just say Christians. Most Christians aren't really religious, even if they may go to church. They may do something, but there are some who are, and at least they're using their human form of life and making some spiritual progress, so they get at least a human birth in the next life. But most people, it seems, from what I can see, are not going to be human beings in the next birth unless we do something about it. We have to help them. We have to get them to hear the holy name. Like we're having the Rath Yatra, if we can get people to come and pull the cart, take prasadam. We have to do whatever we can to help people to have a better chance of at least getting a human form of life, even if not going back to the spiritual world. And those who would take more interest, try to help them to ultimately go back home, back to Godhead. And it's not like there's one religion, Jehovah's Witnesses. They have a set number of people who are going to go that what they call heaven, but to go to the spiritual world, what they think. And it's not a very large number. I think it's in the thousands, and yet there's billions and billions of people. And I had some come to the door here, and they told me how many people at the time are going to be saved. Basically, you die, your body gets, worms, ashes, whatever. But then when Jesus comes, if you're one of those lucky ones, I don't know, 17,000 of us or how many, you come back together in your same form, and you go with God eternally. I asked how old. They said, whatever age you like the best, so you got choices there. It's nice to have choices. First of all, it makes no sense that your body all comes together when it's totally decomposed. But besides that, another thing I told them, so why are you telling me about this? I may now join your religion, and I may go back to this, God, and I may take your place because there's only 17,000 of you that are going to go. It's like, why would you tell anybody about it? He didn't have an answer for that. But for us, the more people we tell about it, the more chances we got of going back ourselves. It's like multi-level marketing. You get whatever spiritual advancement they make, you get some benefit from it. So it's a win-win situation. So we have to try to help others to go back home, and that helps us to go back home. And it also keeps us fixed when we're telling people about Krishna consciousness. It reminds me, I had a friend, he was a heroin addict. And then, I don't know exactly what happened, but he went for treatment to, I don't know what you call like a halfway house. He did something, and he actually got freed from the heroin. But what he did, and most people that I knew, because where I grew up in Brooklyn, there was a lot of addicts, but none of my friends were addicts, but I did see a lot of them around all the time. And even if they go for treatment, they come back and they do it again. But this one friend, and he's really like the only friend I had that I know was a heroin addict and got cured. He worked for the halfway house, telling people about, how to get free from this heroin, because he did it. He was successful. It was a success story. But later, after I became a devotee, I was thinking the reason he never went back to heroin because he was constantly telling people about it. He was one of the people there who was helping the others to give it up. So similarly, even for ourselves, we're not heroin addicts, fortunately, but we have to tell people about Krishna consciousness, which will help us to become strong in our Krishna consciousness. And especially when you're telling people who don't believe in this, who don't accept it. You may find like Indian people accept a lot of what we say. When you find others, if you find Westerners and you try to explain to them some of these simple points, you get arguments that you didn't hear before. And that helps you to become strong so that you just learn how to defeat these different arguments. And it really helps preaching. book distribution. I found by book distribution was the best thing to really get fixed up in Krishna consciousness, because you hear so many, sometimes good arguments, sometimes rarely, but sometimes they'd say something I really wouldn't have an answer, and I'd have to think about it, and sometimes I'd have to even ask somebody else, and then, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. So it's good to preach Krishna consciousness, as much as we can to new people. And of course, when new people come to the temple, we don't want to preach them and shove it down their throat. We want to be nice to them and encourage them. There's different ways, because this philosophy, you can beat people over the head with it if you wanted to, but I don't want you to go that far. So I'm going to read this quote again from the Smritis. In the material creation, the Lord is only, wait a minute. In the material creation, the Lord is only the supreme cause. The immediate cause is material nature, by which the cosmic manifestation is visible. So the creation being of many varieties, such as the demigods, human beings, and lower animals. And all of them are subject to the reactions of their past good or bad activities. The Lord only gives them the proper facilities for such activities and the regulations of the modes of nature. But he, with a capital H, is never responsible for their past and present activities. So the Lord's not responsible. He tells us what to do. Even in our heart, even I'm reading in the 11th canto, that a person who is sincere and can observe things in nature can be his own Shiksha guru. You can learn on your own that this material world is a horrible place, a temporary place, that there is something better. You can't learn on your own that God has a peacock feather, black hair, blackish bluish color. You can't learn these things just by speculation. That's impossible. But you can learn a lot. And then Krishna will send someone. So we have to try to help people by becoming Krishna conscious. Krishna is not responsible for their past and present actions. In the Vedanta Sutra 2.134, it is confirmed. Vaishamya Nayagura okay. Sapekshatvayati. See, if it was on the screen, Sugopia would have you read it, but it's not. So anyway, I can read the English. The Lord is never partial to any living entity. That's a whole other thing. There's questions asking, how is he not partial? He seems to be partial to the demigods, but he's partial. It's a pretty simple way you can explain it. Okay, anybody who wants to come on this side of the line, they'll get all the wonderful things. If you stay on that side, you're going to suffer. So the choice is yours. What do you want to do? He's not partial. He's not saying only certain people can come. Anyone can surrender to him. Anyone can take shelter of him. And whoever does is benefited. And whoever doesn't has to go through material life. So it's not, he doesn't have any partiality. Like I like this person and I don't like that person, like we may have. He's equal to all. And whoever turns towards him, they benefit. But the choice is theirs. They have free will. We all have free will. Even that's hard sometimes for people to understand. I mean, I could see I have free will. I do, you do what you want to do. Anyway, I don't want to get into where we came from because we may have a lot of questions and I won't be able to answer them. But my understanding is because Prabhupada said this, pretty directly, that we were with Krishna and we decided to turn away from Krishna. Now, why would you do that? I can understand. It's like, why do I do anything? I do stupid things. So why wouldn't I do that? But of course, he also says, if you go back, you'll never do that again. Lord is never partial to any living entity. The living entity is responsible for his own acts. The Lord only gives him facilities through the agency of material nature, the external energy. Anyone who is fully conversant with the intricacies of this law of karma or fruitive activities does not become affected by the results of his activities. In other words, the person who understands this transcendental nature of the Lord is an experienced man in Krishna consciousness, and thus he is never subjected to the laws of karma. One who does not know the transcendental nature of the Lord and who thinks that the activities of the Lord are aimed at fruitive results, as are the activities of the ordinary living entities, certainly becomes entangled himself in fruitive reactions. But one who knows the supreme truth is a liberated soul fixed in Krishna consciousness. So we have to hear these things over and over because Maya is always trying to get us. And Maya is very expert, very, very expert. And she's not going to come and try to tell you, okay, you should have a hamburger, eat a hamburger. Nobody's going to fall for that. But she starts with just some little thing, just some little tiny deviation. And from that, then do that little deviation again. She's got all the time in the world, and she just gets us to deviate little by little by little until we're eating a hamburger. She may not get that far, but she'll work on it as much as she can. I remember this question that was asked by some Gurukul kids to their teacher, that what's the harm if one time we just drank some wine or smoked some pot? I don't remember exactly what it was they said, but something sinful. How is that going to hurt anything if we just do it once? And his answer I thought was really good, because if you do it once, then you're weaker, and then you have a better chance. Maya has a better chance of getting you to do it again, and that's how she works. We have to see this. I mean, those of you who are never influenced by Maya, you may not see it. But those who have that experience can see that's how she does it. She does it little by little, just little tiny deviation. Okay, so I'm going to read the verse again, which I did put down the book. This is text 14. This, of course, is Krishna speaking. There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. So this is a very good reason why we should understand this truth about Krishna's working, because if we do, then we all ourselves don't become entangled in fruitive reactions. So it's interesting because now we may be assuming that, yes, there's no work that affects Krishna. Everybody, I'm sure everybody on here agrees there's no work that affects Krishna, nor does he aspire for the fruits of action. He's not working because he wants a new chariot. He's not working because he wants another wife, 16,108. I think that's enough for now. So why is he doing it? He's not doing it for results, fruitive results, and he's not doing it, and the work does not affect him. So now, if you know this, so we agree, we know this. So one who understands this truth about me, and we all think we understand it, also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. Now that part, I don't know if we're all not becoming entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. So how is it? What are we missing? I mean, I'm sure we all agree that Krishna is not doing it to enjoy the fruits of the work. He's not affected by anything he does materially. So we know that. So I mean, anybody have an answer to that question?
What was the question again?
Krishna says, there is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. Do you know that? Do you believe that? There's no work that affects Krishna, nor does he aspire for the fruits of action. He's not working for anything to get something from it.
You're asking me if I believe that? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you understand that, right?
Yes.
Okay. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. Are you entangled at all in the fruitive reactions of work?
Absolutely not. Of course.
Okay. Oh, Krishna's right.
Of course. I am entangled.
No, so, but you do, we all feel the same way. We know that Krishna's not affected by his work, nor he's not working so he gets some fruits from it, some results, gets his paycheck and figure out how he's going to spend it. He's not doing it for that. We know that. But yet, we seem to still be entangled in the fruits of one who understands this truth about me. Maybe we believe it, we accept it, but somehow we're not completely understanding it. That's one thing. There's another thing. There's another verse in the Bhagavad Gita. I think it was in this chapter. One who knows the transcendental nature of my
Janma Karma Chame Divyam, yeah.
doesn't have to take birth again. So we also know that. So two things. One is maybe we're all not taking birth again, and that's it. We know that. When Yamaraj comes, we say, hey, I know Krishna's transcendental, his appearance and disappearance. Here's my card. Let me in.
Hello.
You know, that's one thing. Or is there something we don't understand about that? It is the same verse. We agree with all these things. So I mean, I do think one who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. So maybe we don't become entangled, and maybe at the end of this life, we do all go back to Godhead. I sure hope so.
I know, but I remember my 2-year-old son or something jumping on our bed, and he was falling from the bed and hitting his head on the floor. But again, he was getting back on the bed and jumping and falling and hitting his head. But no matter how much he hit his head, he kept jumping on the bed. So I was kind of looking at him. I said, this is how we are. We're hitting our head on the floor, but we still want to get up on that bed and jump and enjoy ourselves.
Who was the mother who didn't stop him?
Well, he did it only a couple of times. And then, of course, I said, stop it. But I was thinking, stupid kid.
Yeah, well, that's true. We have to suffer. We will enjoy, and then we have to suffer. But anyway, let's just hope somehow or other we do understand this truth about Krishna, and we don't get entangled in fruitive reactions of work. So anyone have any questions? I had a question, and Gita Mala answered it.
Sorry, we want to hear your answer.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. That's all I know. That's what I said. The other verse is very similar. One who knows the truth, they don't take birth again. And it seems like such simple truth. And maybe it is that simple.
Pyari Prabhu, I had heard that not only should you understand, you should act on that knowledge. When you act on the knowledge, you get the full benefit. Just knowing that Krishna is divine and everything, but then we have to follow in that whatever he says, So if we just know that, that he's, that Janma Karma is not enough. Whatever you know, you have to act on that knowledge.
Well, how do you act on something that when you say, they're saying Krishna is not affected by work, Krishna is not aspiring for the fruits of action. What does it have to do with me acting on it? What do I have to do? I believe it, I accept it, but I don't do any acting on it. I can't act like Krishna.
No, not in this case, but Janma
Even
Karma.
in the other case, that my appearance and activities are transcendental. I accept that, but how do I act on it that his appearance and activities are transcendental? I do act on it. I read it and I believe it. I believe it.
No, when you act on it, you're following all the rules and regulations, following the 4 regulative principles, following what the acharyas say, doing day-to-day life, living according to the Krishna conscious philosophy. And all of us, I deviate. I don't know about other people. Like I eat bread and that's not offered, and I eat whatever, So even though I'm supposed to eat only prasad, and I know that, and I can stop eating bread and I can stop eating things from outside that, like cereal or something, which I continue to do, in spite knowing that that's not good for me. But I'm too lazy to make
how does you eating bread? How does you eating bread mean you don't understand that Krishna's activities are
which means I'm not fully following the regulative principles. I'm not going completely according to regulation. I'm manipulating the regulation to suit me on a little bit. I'm not saying that I'm doing anything terribly wrong.
Okay, let's not talk about you. Let's just
talk but I'm giving myself as an example. I'm saying anybody who does any kind of deviation is not 100% following.
I know everybody, I want to go around, everybody tell their deviations.
I think it means understanding that he's in charge of the results of the activities. He's not bound by a result of whatever action he does. That means he's in charge of the results of the activities. And therefore, whatever we do, if we understand that the results are up to Krishna and not, us.
Well, she's taking, you hear, everyone hear?
No, we couldn't hear her very well in the beginning.
Well, I don't know if I can say it again.
Sorry.
Well, my understanding is that we have to understand how Krishna is in charge of the results of all activities, that he's not bound by the results of activities. That means he's in charge of them. And whatever we do, the results are up to Krishna. And if we act in that way, that means we understand it and we won't be bound by those results. They're given by Krishna. And therefore we will want to please Krishna also and act, like she said, follow the principles, whatever, because this is pleasing to Krishna.
So in other words, I get my paycheck and I see that paycheck is actually coming from Krishna. Krishna is in charge of the actions that I'm doing. So I should use that paycheck for him.
It belongs to him.
Why don't you say it louder?
It's his.
Pyari likes that example, Jiva. But I was also thinking, even if something bad happens to you, you have to accept it as coming from Krishna.
Yes.
And still continue to serve him, like that.
Right.
Yes.
What's that verse that you always quote from the Bhagavata? Tatteno kampam,
Yeah.
like no matter what happens, you still accept it as result from Krishna and continue serving him, with enthusiasm.
Yeah, and that's understanding this. And therefore you won't be bound by that.
Okay, so now
results.
let me just say the next part. Okay, if you know that Krishna's activities and his appearance and activities are transcendental, you don't have to take birth again. So how is that now? Okay, I know his activities are transcendental. I know his birth or his appearance is transcendental. So what else do I have to do? I can do whatever I want to do.
Well, if you truly understand Krishna, you understand yourself as well. Self-realization.
Oh, she's got it all the time.
Goes with God realization. If you really understand who you are,
Speak louder, so.
they can
Yeah,
hear. I
in
see.
reality, tattvataha, yeah, tattvataha in reality.
So if you really
You
understand Krishna, you'll understand yourself, that you're also transcendental.
Yeah, God realization,
And
self-realization, they're like peas in a pod. Go together.
and totally and completely his servant, right? Which we do not behave as. Yeah.
Right. So if we
Krishna
really
is
understand
Krishna.
Krishna's transcendental position, we would also understand ours, because we're also just part and parcel of Krishna, same spiritual little spark, this little part. So those things would also apply to us in a minute fashion.
And then therefore we won't have to take birth again.
Okay. Any questions for Jiva?
Any objections?
No, that's a very good. That's a very good point.
Okay, Sugopi, what's your question?
I was clapping.
Oh, oh, that's good.
Okay, thank you.
You can clap.
Okay, anything else? We all have to get to the transcendental platform. We have to believe all these things about Krishna. We have to understand them, and we have to act upon them. So if also Krishna, if there's no work that affects Krishna, there's also no work that affects me. I mean, ultimately me, the soul, it's not affecting me,
Right.
no matter what I do. Nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. It's not going to do anything for me. It just does something for this body, the fruits of action. So I don't really, well, I kind of want it, but I don't need it. I shouldn't want it but the only reason I want it is because I'm not seeing who I really am.
We understand these when we see it spiritually.
Yeah, we have to see that we're also the part and parcel of Krishna. So these things apply to us in a minute degree. Just like Prabhupada says, if you test the ocean, you take a drop from the ocean, you can understand what the whole ocean is made of, by analyzing a drop. So similarly, if the whole ocean is a certain way, the drop is a certain way. So we're like the drop, and Krishna's like the ocean. So if he's this way, then we also, to a very tiny degree, that way. And then, of course, you're not entangled in the fruits of your work. You know that you're completely spiritual. I think we'll settle for that argument because I have to live with Jiva. No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
I think it's the other way around.
I'm open for debate. I'm open.
What
for
do you
debate.
think? What do you think it is, Gitamala?
What do I think? What is?
You said that you think it's the other way around. I don't know what you mean.
Oh, she has to live with you, is what I was.
Oh. I'm sorry I asked that question. Okay, I guess we can end now. Does anyone have any other questions or comments? Anyone? Omeo, you showed
No.
your face for a minute. No
Yeah,
question?
to act on the knowledge that we are not the body is very, very difficult. It's very difficult minute to minute thinking I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul. So how do you, to fully understand, like Mother Jiva said, be fully self-realized, that's when you're following fully. And
So how do you
very-
get to the point of being self-realized? It's because you can't do it every moment. You do it when you can. Whenever you can, you try to think of it. And the more you do, the more often you'll be doing it. And eventually you come to the point to always be thinking that way. But you have to make an effort. It's not going to just happen. You actually have
yeah,
to.
we have to make the effort, but the result is always in Krishna's hands. So only if Krishna wants to take us back,
Right. But
or
if we
the
make
Guru
an
wants
effort,
to help us take us back, it's not because of our effort. It's
no, but
because of our
if
gurus.
we
And
make an effort and say, well, I made an effort, that's that. It's not, it's up, results are up to Krishna. No, I have to make more of an effort and more of an effort. I have to keep trying. So as much as possible, when you're realizing maybe that you're thinking you are the body and you get to a point where, I'm not this body, you somehow think that way, then dwell on that for some time. You're not the body. And then it'll come easier next time. It is a fact. We think we're the body most of the time. I remember once devotee told Srila Prabhupada that, Srila Prabhupada, sometimes I'm in Maya. And Prabhupada says, no, sometimes you're in Krishna.
You're always in Maya.
Most of the time we're in Maya. Sometimes we fall into Krishna.
To Krishna. Like that
So-
answer. Jiva, very nice explanations today.
Surprising, huh? Very ancient.
Who was giving class?
Omio, do you have something to say? Maybe nice thing about me?
No, Prabhu, I just turned on my video because I took your threat seriously. Like few minutes ago, you said if nobody turns on their camera, you might not show your camera. So now
Right,
hopefully
right,
you'll change your mind.
Well,
I turned
did
on my camera.
I thank you. Thank you.
Omeo, he wants somebody on his side. Come on.
No,
Anyway, he's
when
on
giving
my
lectures,
side. He turned on his camera.
yes.
I can't ask for much more than that. Okay, so let's offer our obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grace Pyari Mohan Prabhu ki jai.
Jiva
Jai.
Mata ki jai.
Jai.
Pyari's laughing.
Kamala ki jai.
No, I had to include you, Shiva. Haribol.